Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode 28 of the Ad Talk by Ad Class podcast. Let's go. How you doing, Matthew?
I'm doing great today, man. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
What,
Another day in paradise.
Great to have you back. Not to say that, it was rough with just Caleb and I. We held down the fort, but
you guys did great.
It's great to see you back.
You guys did great. We had another baby, for those of you wondering. That's 3 and 3 years. If you're keeping track, that's 3 and 2.5 years, actually. So we're just pumping them out over here. You talk about scaling ads. We're scaling families over here,
What's the ROAS on that?
Well, it's a big negative. If you've ever had a baby, I am losing a lot of money. It's you really don't know how expensive having a family is, dude, until you have 3 babies in 2.5 years. I can't even look anymore. I can't look at our budgets. It's painful. Not to mention hospital bills, bro. Like you stack 3 years in a row of having a baby in the hospital. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. All the diapers.
Yeah. The ROAS is bad, but let me tell you, when they're 18, we'll keep this legal. When they're 18 and want a job, maybe they're media buyers, maybe they run some ads for my offers, and the ROAS will be worth it. We're playing the long game here.
That's right. Exactly. You got to see how the funnel progresses.
Yeah, that's right. And if we even still have to do media buying, which that's kind of the topic of today's episode. We're talking about vibe marketing. Let's go. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about what is vibe marketing. You might have heard the lingo the cool kids are talking about. And we're going to be talking about what is vibe marketing, how you, the marketers that are running your ads today, and your marketing team should be tapped into vibe marketing and why that's even a thing. So stay tuned, because if you listen to this episode, I think by the end of it, you're going to have some tools that you can take with you to use technology, strategically, really AI, to assist you in making better ads, doing more things quickly, and making better quality marketing. So let's get into it.
Let's start with thinking through, what has brought us to this point, especially with AI. I know AI is a hot button topic, especially with us. This seems to be something that we always come back to talking about. I know that you, especially even in your personal life, have been a big adopter in like automation and AI kind of stuff. But as it pertains to marketing, and we can touch on like the vibe part of it after this, but give us like the past 3 months and where you see the next 3 going because of AI.
It's so funny, dude, because every time we have an episode where we even touch on AI at all, it's completely different than the last time. And this time it was like 2 months ago we talked about AI, and now it's already like science fiction. It's like, how is the stuff that it's doing happening? So yeah, I'd say like really why we keep talking about this and why it's at the forefront of our brains really comes back to it's already changing and shaping the way we have formed our marketing agency. And if that's the case, like the tools we use every day, the personnel we hire, the way we train, it's all changing very rapidly due to AI. And if that's the case, then I know that brands also need to be doing this, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why it's the hot button topic. I think like 3 months ago, we looked at AI as hey, maybe someday it's going to replace graphic designers, let's say, right? Maybe a graphic designer, instead of like, just like going into Canva, working up something special, or Photoshop, maybe AI is going to take that on at some point. And I think we all thought like, yeah, it's cool. Midjourney does some stuff, like we can use Meta's AI to prompt like a funny image of like an astronaut on a spaceship eating cheese or something. It's like, sure, you can do that. And then this week, ChatGPT dropped an update, right? Mm-hmm. Completely rehauled its image generation. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've seen some of the images that have been created, the Studio Ghibli memes, the like, is it Ghibli, Matthew, or is it Ghibli? It's Ghibli, right?
I would have said Ghibli, but
Ghibli. It's like GIF or GIF, dude.
Right.
I need a phonetic pronunciation guide, but either way, you've seen like some of the crazy images that have been created. And if you played around with it at all, the first reaction of almost everybody that I've seen has been like, oh, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen. Because now I just have a conversation with ChatGPT tell it to turn that into an image, and it's perfect almost every time.
Mm-hmm.
That leap doesn't seem significant because like people have been making AI images and it's been a thing, but when you really break it down, that leap is the most significant leap in my opinion in the last year that we've been able to like see go viral to the point where marketing teams now are waking up to, wait a second, this is better than something I would have made. What does this mean for the future of fill in the blank?
Right? I
Right?
mean, it's no longer the Will Smith eating spaghetti level of like AI image generation,
No,
that
not at all.
feels like I just like watched Titanic or something, and that was like 25 years ago. That's the kind
Right.
of like development in terms of the technology, which is insane. And it's not a surprise to see this kind of rollout from OpenAI, considering how they've rolled out their models. They've sort of just like dropped things like the
Yeah.
4.5 like scripting. Obviously, they had the 4.0, and now that's what they've attached the image generator to as well. But I think it's more just like the fact it's come out of nowhere, and from the jump, it seems to have just leveled up everything, and it's just kind of
And I think it's
changed
the virality of it too, right? Like, here's the thing: all of these AI companies are going to continue to come out with new things that are great and change the game and all of that. And the people who are following AI closely will see that, but the mass market probably won't. And the crazy part here, in my opinion, is that they made something that went viral. Everybody signed up. Like I can't remember the exact tweet that the founder of ChatGPT said, but he said like we were expecting it to blow up, but we've had more signups in the last day than we had in the entirety of when we like made the first version of ChatGPT, right? Like he's looking at the history of signups and it's like this huge spike. And it's because it's the simplest, like meme worthy, like this is what people see, right? Why this is important is because visually people can see an image and it can click. You know what I mean? Like, oh, whoa, what is that? How did they make that? That's crazy. I've never seen anything like that. And then that plants the seed for, oh, AI did this. Oh, wait a second. AI did this, you know what I mean? And you start to like go down that rabbit hole. So the people who have not really considered AI, they've heard the phrase AI and they've been like, yeah, whatever, like I'm fine. They now see something like this and they're like, maybe I'm not going to be fine. Maybe this is going to take my job, right?
Yeah, I feel like AI up until this point, in a lot of people's like public perception of it, has just been like taking of information and quickly and very thoroughly putting something else back in terms of like analysis or like development. Like think about throwing in a CSV file and just telling it to analyze for trends, that kind of stuff. Visuals communicate so differently compared to text.
Yeah.
I know it's the oldest cliche in the book, but a picture says 1,000 words. Now you can have 1,000 pictures in like who knows how long, and the level of which they've managed to get the model to generate realistic and accurate to your prompts. It's crazy, and this is why vibe marketing is really on the cusp of something.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So vibe marketing, this comes from vibe coding, right? Which was kind of like this people started talking about vibe coding in coding communities, which is essentially like no code coding, right? Where like there are these AI apps and sophisticated softwares that were being made where it's like you can just type in, hey, I want an app that is a calculator for home loan applications that can go on my whatever, right? And this smart AI system goes in and codes the whole thing for you. So you never learn coding, but you can make an app, right? That's where vibe coding came from. And it's sort of like, if you think of it, it's like, you just think of a cool thing. What's the vibe, right? The mood is essentially, I just want an app. Can you make me an app? And the AI makes the app. So it takes away the technical prerequisite of making an app and leaves it with only the creativity, only the vibe. So if you can imagine it, you can make it. So now the tools and the execution are out of your hands. You don't even have to learn how to do the tools. You just have to be a creative person that can come up with a cool new solution, right? And that's vibe coding. Apply that to marketing, and vibe marketing is taking the need to know how to and the execution piece out of the marketing and putting all of the creative development on your plate and saying, hey, come up with the best idea and then just use this tool and tell your idea and it'll make it for you.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting premise because up to this point, we have media buying, right? We have copywriting, we have video editing, we have creative design and graphic design, we have cinematography, all of these pieces that have to go together perfectly to make a beautiful ad and to make something that resonates, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we're essentially saying is that most of that stuff AI is going to be able to do and do better than you. So now your job, instead of doing all that stuff, your job is coming up with the unique idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's a controversial topic, but I'm curious your thought, Matthew. Like off the rip, does that excite you or does that scare you more?
I mean, it's controversial, I think, because people aren't willing to sort of face reality. It's kind of pushing back against the tide when it's already at your feet kind of situation.
Yeah.
I think that it's exciting in a sense because, as an account strategist, I have context in my mind of like what works in an account, what creative is working, what messaging is working, how the funnel congruency works from ad touch to conversion on the back end. I have context of that, and then a couple of the other accounts that could relatively speak to what could work in that account too. I've got colleagues that I can ask what's working in this kind of funnel. AI blows the doors off what we know.
Right.
Like, even if I'm really good at my job and I'm in a team that's really good at their jobs, we still know like a drop in a bucket of information.
Right.
And what we can do is use the information we have to manipulate prompts, to manipulate information with AI to speed up the marketing process. It's not necessarily just like a replacement, because there still needs to be like prompting. We'll get onto maybe at some point, maybe next year, we'll talk about like self-determinative AI that's just running everything in the background and we don't actually need to do anything.
Agents.
Exactly. Just like continuous internal agents that actually don't need any input from prompting. But for now, I still need to do a prompt. So if I can get good at my job enough to prompt well and use what is at my disposal, that's exciting because that's good for our clients. It means we can test quicker. It means we can test better, potentially. We've created a bunch of creatives internally. I know you ran like a little competition to see, like, on the first day of the image prompt on ChatGPT, like who can come up with the best one. And there were some like really good ones that would have taken, time to think through and then time to execute from like a graphic perspective and then time to refine. That was all accomplished within 10 minutes.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So it's that speed that's the big thing.
It's speed. Yeah. That's exactly it. It's speed. And it's also efficiency in the term of how many people do you need to accomplish something. So I think like this is exciting on that note because a team of killers who all know how to do this and drive the machine in our Vibe marketers, as an example, can accomplish what 100-person team used to have to do. And that's exciting for brands who have just one internal marketer who's really good because that person now can accomplish way more. But it's also exciting for people working with an agency that's kind of on the cutting edge because we get to tinker with this stuff all day long, figure out what works in one place and apply it to multiple other places. So when you said like using what we know as the context to prompt AI, in my mind, that's the starting point for this whole thing, right? It's how do we get the frameworks, the SOPs, what's worked and what's not in our brain out onto something that the AI can read and then give us a contextualized response or create something very contextualized. Because what I have found with AI, where it really falls short typically, is the broad answers, right? It's like, it does a good job at broad answers, but I don't want a broad answer usually. I want something hyper specific toward our use case. And so that piece I don't think will go away. If you just go into ChatGPT and say, make me a marketing plan for XYZ, that's not going to convert well on paid traffic typically because what we do is very, very specific. But if you go in and you give it a prompt that is highly thought through based on everything we've done up to this point, pulling from our knowledge database, we're starting off on a much better foot. And so I think that is another contextual piece that's relevant for vibe marketing. It's like if you're gonna jump in and try to do the job of multiple people, you better have your frameworks, your SOPs, the context super solid, so that whatever ChatGPT or the AI, whatever you're using, spits back out at you, it's good. It's not just like, broad sort of like general information that isn't helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's where like developing prompts and understanding what prompts are, it's kind of like, working a muscle. You build it with repetition and seeing what works and what doesn't. If I just went into ChatGPT and just said, take this text, take this background style, take the CTA, put it together in an image, I highly doubt it's going to, give me anything that I can just like use and launch straight away.
Right.
It takes time to understand how to prompt, and that takes time to type it out as well, honestly.
Right.
That's where the effort comes in. But I feel like if we can develop our muscles of knowing how to prompt and take the information, whether it's from, up here or in an SOP database, marry the two together, it'd be the best. And that's what we're doing as well.
Yep.
Then that just shrinks that time gap and gets down to what we can actually feed it that will develop what we need and not just something quickly, essentially.
100%, dude. And I think like, so essentially what we're saying is small team, right context, AI tools can accomplish way more than what we used to be able to accomplish, for sure. But even what like a regular marketing team that's just using traditional methods can accomplish today, which is crazy. It's actually pretty crazy. So my question for you, Matthew, is like, based on where, because I want to hear your perspective from the role that you're providing right now, right? If you were trying to learn all this stuff, where would you start? I mean, you mentioned repetition, right? Like you mentioned just practicing. And I think that's an interesting concept, because to get good at AI, you really do kind of have to like talk to it and practice it. But like, yeah, where would you start? What have you found like the biggest needle movers for you have been leveraging AI?
Yeah, so I think that if you wanted to just like start from scratch with something, you don't necessarily need to build out this whole big SOP database necessarily. If you have one, great, obviously. If you have ChatGPT Plus, use a custom GPT. Like build your own knowledge base in there, build a brain essentially, and make it hyper specific to whether it's one client or one task. So that means that everything you ask of it is set within those parameters, essentially. I've built quite a few custom GPTs that have worked well, especially with like copy, with like scale plans. We feed like PPC sheets into it for like data awareness, that kind of stuff. If you give it context, it will be so powerful. If again, like going back to what you said, if it's broad, then it can still, get somewhere after probably 5 or 10 tries and rehashes and stuff. But if you can build a sandbox which is designed for this one thing, it's going to get you there a lot quicker. And because of how custom GPTs work, you have that sandbox ready to go. You just need to build it, essentially. So I say if you're starting from scratch and you don't know like where to go outside of just like staying within the one chat conversation that you've been asking it, like, how much is petrol? Or sorry, petrol. Wow, British. How much is gas going to go up in the next?
Talking a liter or a gallon here?
Kilometers per liter. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Okay.
How much is that going to go up as a result of tariffs, inflation, that kind of stuff? Right. If you have this one chat that you're asking all these different things, it's going to give you the most broad answer possible. If you get hyper specific and build a place that you can ask it questions that you need information from, that's the best way to start.
Yeah, love that. I completely agree. And I would say, like, just from a controversial standpoint, just talk to AI more. Like like it sounds weird to say that, but like the more you understand the way it processes data, contextually thinks and gives you responses, the better you'll be at it. It's sort of like when you're learning how to Google things. Like, I don't know if you've ever tried to help somebody who doesn't use the computer very much search for something, but like they go to Google and type in like the weirdest way to get places. It's like, okay, but if you just like use parentheses here, or if you put these in quotations, or it's just like the weirdest thing. Like they don't understand how it works, right? And it's a learning curve. You have to we take this for granted that we've learned how to use the internet up to this point just by growing up with it.
Yeah.
AI is the same way. Like there's this learning curve. It is very user friendly, clearly, but there's still ways to manipulate it that I think people are just missing because they don't practice it, which,
Totally.
you have to be a tinkerer to get good at this stuff for sure.
I was laughing because, and I'm not trying to throw my wife under the bus, but when she Googles stuff, it is that hyper specific, like very, very, very specific questions, which, for Google, which is based on SEO and
well, but now Google's throwing Gemini responses up first, and it's actually giving good answers now, right?
Well, ask it how many R's there are in strawberry, and you'll see it's not always great.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, because we're having to go back to the hyper specificity approach, those kind of like questions that you typically type into Google and get like 5 like hits, that now works, so
yeah.
It's kind of funny. It's come all the way back around.
I know, it's strange, man. Yeah, like if you have something you used to have to Google like Reddit for, you would type in like how to water hydrangeas in the summer Reddit, right? Because you want like somebody who's actually done it, or even more specific, like how to water hibiscus plants in Arizona summer Reddit, right? And you're just hoping somebody out there has answered the question at some point. Now you can go into ChatGPT, or even if you Googled that same thing, Gemini is going to give you the response first, right? Based on its knowledge base, which is so interesting. And yeah, like that though is the use case that they've designed it around, user-friendly answers. So if you ask it something that's not very surfacey and you really are expecting a deep answer, you have to contextualize that with a lot more information, right? Very good point, dude. Very good point. Well,
okay.
We can keep the discussion rolling. What else we got?
I've got a question for you. So sort of like bringing it back to like the marketing side of things, and something that we've talked a lot about at class is how marketing essentially boils down to psychology and understanding, how to talk to a lead, what their like pain points, desires, that kind of stuff. Understanding who you're talking to is the most important thing in marketing.
Yeah.
When it comes to AI and especially vibe marketing, how do you see that taking a shift? Because all of a sudden, what is coming from an emotional place is now coming from an AI, like machine learned place. Like, how do you see the psychology behind marketing changing as a result of vibe marketing?
I think, like, to me personally, I think AI is good at understanding, like, where humans are coming from most of the time. Like, why I say that is like a lot of like, I have long discussions with it where I'm asking it to give me pros and cons lists of certain decisions I'm thinking about making, feeding it context of things that I'm reading or thinking about or what's important to me. And then I'll go back to AI and say, okay, help me make this decision. But before you do, are there any questions you have for me that you feel I haven't given you context on that would help you understand how I need to make this decision? And it will come back with a list, I kid you not, of 10 or 15 questions that are all things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I'm going through and answering. And then it uses that context to give me specific answers. I'm bringing that up because in the psychology of it all, humans are all so uniquely different, but we all have the same driving emotional needs, right? And you talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like it's always going to be Maslow, right? Yeah, I think Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let me look that up. Maslow's. Yeah, I'm right. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Essentially, every human has the same needs at the base level, right? Survival, shelter, and then as you have those things, survival and shelter and food and water, then above that, it's now, do you have desire for affection and for all of these things that are nice to haves. And so when we're thinking of the psychology of marketing, it all boils down to that at the end of the day anyways. It's the desires that all humans have. The question is, can AI figure out what's inside our brains based on its source material? And the more people are talking to it, and asking it questions, and it's using source material, it's browsing the internet. And the more I'm asking it, make pros and cons lists of why I should or shouldn't do this thing, the more it starts to understand how we think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's going to be better than us at the psychographic sort of analytics on the marketing side. Now, all that said, every time something becomes mainstream in pop culture and just in culture in general, there's always a renaissance of sorts of people who are pushing hard against it, right? I don't know if that's going to happen with AI. Like, it didn't really happen with the internet, right? Because it's just such a useful tool. But I feel that the as long as we can tell something is AI, which who knows how much longer that will be, there's probably going to be like a knee-jerk reaction of, I don't want it if it's AI, right? And people will crave authenticity, and they will crave like this feeling of you're a real human, right? We're not quite there yet to where like all of our phone calls are with robots and all the drive-throughs and whatever are robots, but some of them are. And I think you feel a little icky when you have to communicate with a robot and an AI and not a human. Likewise, when you see an ad in your feed and it's not human, you feel a little bit like, I don't know anything about this brand now. I just know they're good at generating AI, Yeah, cheap. So I think there's going to be a knee-jerk sort of reaction like on that side where like humans are just going to want other humans in their marketing. And that's an interesting piece because I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I think there will be a pushback, right, in this whole movement at some point. Now, when AI is good enough to where we can't tell, that's a different story. Yeah.
I mean, going back to that idea, like AI ML, AI is machine learning. The fact that everyone is using it all the time is the learning part.
Yeah.
There's a part of me which is like, all the gibbly, whatever you want to call it, memification. Are we infecting it with our brain rot, and is it just going to be a more super advanced brain rot at this point? I don't know.
Yeah. Now, when I ask it a question, is it just going to reply with like an image of something totally irrelevant that I don't need?
Exactly. Like, I'm not putting in like some deep psychology like text in there. I'm not like asking it about the difference between like Freudian and Jungian like mentality. I'm asking it like, hey, can you just turn this like basketball image into Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, dude. Hey, can you please make these two world-renowned rappers fight in an image, please? Yeah, that's a good point, dude. How much of like what we say to it is it learning from? Who knows? Like, that's the whole thing about AI that's scary. Is it's like at a certain point, this thing is just going to be pushed with so much momentum that there's no stopping it. And who knows, dude? Who knows?
No. But I'm begging you to watch Ex Machina. I don't know if you have yet.
I haven't yet.
Because it's essentially just like the Turing test of like, does a machine know it's talking to another machine kind of stuff, and can you tell when it's a human? And it takes it to that emotional psychological level, and it's kind of terrifying because this came out like 10 years ago, so back then it was like sci-fi. Now it feels like, whoa, this is happening.
Sam Altman watched that and was like, hold my beer, I got this.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. The whole thing is crazy. I think circling real back, we'll conclude with this, like circling back to vibe marketing. I think from a beneficial standpoint, right? Like, the big takeaway here is that this stuff is moving so fast that if you are a marketer and you're working on anything project related, I mean, if you're doing anything, but let's be real, marketers, is kind of the focus of our conversation. If you're not pushing to learn some of these AI tools and understand how it's functioning, where it's going, I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's going to be really hard for you in the future, because I'll give a quick example of a real life thing that we did in the last week, right? Last week, Caleb and I, my business partner, we were talking about like, what if we had a lead magnet that tapped into all the internal resources we had When people opt in, they just answer a few questions and we write them a report, send it to their email on how to fix their ad constraint right now based on our ad spend data. Like we already had the brain that we use internally of like, here's all of our resources, here's everything we know. What if we just like took that and threw it into a lead magnet and emailed it to people? In the past, before AI, this like actually wouldn't have been possible, but it would have also taken a really long time to build out. Instead, we thought of the idea, built the funnel out, had all of the logic, all of the ads, all of the creative, everything ready in 2 days. And it's running right now. And it's crushing it.
Good. It's good. Yeah. That's the difference.
It's the best funnel we've ever launched.
Yeah.
For ad class. Now, that like I don't know how else to say that. I didn't even do anything. Honestly, Caleb built the whole thing in like a night. And when he ran into a roadblock, he asked ChatGPT how to fix it. When he ran into like something he didn't understand, he just went to AI for help. Mm-hmm. It writes reports by, like literally from scratch for every single person that opts into the funnel using their exact answers. No two reports are the same. It's crazy, man. Like you would have had to hire a human to write those in the past, for example. And so like, that's just an example of like how quickly this stuff is moving. And how if you have someone on your team that is actually thinking about this, you have such an advantage. And you have a first mover's advantage, and it's not going to last for very long because people are going to catch on to this really, really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Again, it's that speed. It's that collapsing of how much attention you need on something. Suddenly what would take 10 people in a touch point, you can do alone in 10 minutes,
Yep.
And yeah, if you're not embracing at least, tinkering, you're going to get left behind, and costs are going to go crazy up as well. That's a big part of it too. It's like all of a sudden there's scarcity, people needing to charge more, could look pretty drastically different in the next couple of years in terms of hiring. So
100%. Well, and the beautiful part, like long term though, for people running ads and hiring marketing and all this talent, is it's going to get a lot more affordable for them. Because as agencies get more efficient, as freelancers get more efficient, we can do more with less. And, essentially you pay for value creation, but you also pay for market rate. And what will happen is eventually agencies will get so good at using this that they're going to be able to lower their prices, undercut competitors, and do a better job than their competitors when they leverage this the right way. So, I mean, it's going to be a crazy landscape for the next while, but it's gonna be fun to watch. I'm excited to be in it. And I'm a tinkerer, man. You know me, Matthew. I'm constantly lighting up Slack with stupid AI images and prompts and Twitter posts and all of this stuff. I will always be a nerd when it comes to this stuff. So
you call it stupid, but really you're just like trying to get everyone else to follow suit, and that's what a good leader does. So that's why I'm building GPTs and doing all this random stuff as well. Obviously not to the level of like, Kendrick versus Drake in Street Fighter mode, but
no, not everybody can be as good as me,
That's a fact. Yeah, I haven't got the plan yet.
Oh man. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for tagging along. If you're listening to this, send us a message. Tell us what you think about vibe marketing. We'd love to hear any AI tools you guys are rocking too. We're stoked to be back. Ad Talk by Ad Class, episode 28. It's been fun, Matthew. Appreciate you.
Great. It's good to have you back, bro.